Hello everyone, my name is Grayson and welcome to a new series on Trials of Fire. Now this is a game that I have covered once before, it's been probably several years, and it didn't get very many views, so I want to take another look at it, show all of you what this game is like, and hopefully get some people interested in taking a try, because it's a really cool game. It's sort of a hidden gem. It does a lot of stuff really well. And I think the whole premise and the setting and the characters, everything is really good. The art is super thematic. It's got like a cataclysm sort of wasteland feel to everything. And the whole game takes place in this book. Like this book opens up to the map, your journal, everything is sort of like in this book, which is sort of like a compendium of the adventures that have taken place in this world. So this is a roguelite turn-based sort of adventure game where you go into these tactical turn-based battles with your characters, and you have cards, so it is a deck builder, but the items, the cards that you play are primarily added and subtracted to your deck from the items that you're wearing, which is a super interesting system. You've seen a little bit of this in games like Gordian Quest, but for the most part, usually, if you're thinking of games like Slay the Spire, your character has a deck of cards, and you can add or subtract or alter the cards in there. And then your equipment, if you have any, is sort of a different thing that just gives stats out. In this game, the equipment primarily is there to give you new cards, new abilities, and sometimes some other kinds of buffs. So I'll show you how that works. There is a combat tutorial in this game. It's very good. You should definitely play that. We have a card catalog, so we can see like the different characters that there are, so we can go into the different characters and we can see their different cards. We can also see like the basic cards that they start with. So if we go with something like the warrior, who's a basic starting character, and you go to basic, here we have the advance, the swipe, and the wild swing. These are cards that she is going to start with. And then you can also take a look at like actions, heroic skills, powers, things like that. It's super cool. And then as you level up characters, the meta progression of playing campaigns and getting experience on characters, you'll unlock new cards that you can find in future runs. So that's not a super obscure system. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that kind of thing. We have some really cool statistics in here as well. You can see, how many landmarks have you found? How many legendaries have you found? How many skill cards have you discovered? You can see I have about 80 left to discover. I also have 2 characters I haven't even unlocked yet. And you can see here's my soul level, which is your meta progression level on these different characters. So I've got the warrior and the elementalist I use the most. The warlord and the alchemist next, the hunter, and then the witch and the assassin. I'm still working on leveling them up. Definitely like the elementalist and the witch and the warrior the most so far. Let's see, what else do we have? We have the codex, so we can see combat, different sorts of tooltips here. You can check out like how different things work if you'd like to. The game has a decent amount of settings you can tweak, especially gameplay-wise, like quick AI turns or getting the story choice spoilers when you're picking selections when things are going on. But let's get into the game itself. We've got profiles if you want multiple saves. So this is just my main profile here. I should just name that real quick. Okay. So when we head back to the start, you can choose an adventure. And this is where you sort of set up your logbook of what's going on. So there are lore quests, and there's like this water gem one here. This is a basic quest, 90 to 120 minutes, and it's starter. So this is like an easy quest. You've got the God Hunter. Rescue your abducted companions and hunt down a wrathful deity. Beacon of Hope. This is advanced exploration. And Cursed Sonata is advanced. So, and then there's also different challenges like a combat run, a boss run, endless odyssey, an endless series of objectives. See how far you can get before the Glasslands consume your party. And the difficulty increases faster than standard quests. We have seasonal quests and daily challenges as well, which is super cool. So I'm just going to go with this God Hunter quest here. It's sort of a pretty standard, sort of repeatable lore quest here. So what I want to do here is let's get in here and pick our characters. So I'm going to go with the warrior, and I want her in the middle. So she always spawns in the middle of the pack. And I think I'll go with let's go with the witch. And let's go with the, I don't know. Let's go with the hunter. I haven't used the hunter in a while. This is going to be our hunter Goober. Our warrior is going to be Framus, and our witch is going to be Shu. We can set the game length, standard, long. We're just probably just going to do standard here. And you can also pick your starting equipment if you... I wouldn't bother with this at first, but as you learn a little bit more about how the game works, you may want to choose your skills. So for instance, if we go under heavy weapon here, you can see our warrior Framus here. She can take either the bone axe, which grants the charge attack, the bone claymore, which grants the wide sweep, or the serrated bone, which gives you the grapple. So I'm probably going to stick with this bone axe. I like the charge skill to move in, especially since these characters here are ranged, so we probably want our warrior to be able to run in faster. But you can do the same thing with these kind of things. So like, for instance, Shu here can have a magical staff, and we can pick different ones. We've got Call Lightning, we have the Force Rod, the Mystic Cane, and we have the Shaman Rod. So we've got like a long-range lightning attack, a close-range melee attack, a mystical cane, which gives you a force field. This has defend. That's a very interesting option, actually. And a shaman rod, which gives a very close range burning attack. And then up here, we can also give ranged weapons. So instead, I could just put a crossbow on this character. And then this character will have sort of like magical attacks in his starting deck, but then we also be granted like a ricochet shot ability from this crossbow, which I think is super cool. He's got different ways to build characters. Most characters can be built melee or ranged, and that's because they have a variety of equipment slots we'll take a look at when we get into the game. The hunter can start with a blade, strike through. Probably want to give him a range weapon, actually. Headshot's pretty interesting. If a range attack 3, then if the target has 3 or less health, destroy it. This is a pretty powerful attack for the beginning of the game when monsters have low health. So I'm going to take that and try to focus him in on ranged damage. So we've got our party selected, we've got our quest selected, and we have our items selected. And we can't change their armor, but we'll get better armor pretty quickly. So let's begin the journey. The settlement Terralin is dying, and one really interesting thing about this game is anything that's blue, you can hover over it and get a hell of a lot of information. Now, I'm not going to read through most of this stuff, but you can learn a lot about all these different characters, the Glasslands, places, creatures, races of creatures, because, like, for instance, here we have, like, humans, but then this character here is, I can't remember if this is some kind of elven-type race, but there are also these creatures called hybrids that look sort of like tieflings from Dungeons and Dragons. There's all this really cool lore in this game. The Glasslands is the large region that we're in here. It's the name given to the barren and scorched wasteland that now covers most of the surface of Ash. The name comes from the beautiful glass formations that were forged in the scorching heat of the Cataclysm. It's a very cool world. So our settlement is dying, and we must track down the leader, Naya, who has ventured out into the Glasslands, so the barren wastelands, in search of a powerful artifact but has not been heard from for weeks. So we're going to follow in her footsteps. We're going to track down Naya, the Voider leader, and return with her or news of her fate. News of her feet. Whoops. It's not that kind of quest. So we're going to continue. So you can see now we're inside the book. See, this whole game takes place inside this big journal, this like tome of the story that's been told. We have a mini map over here on the top right. This will show you, this looks like water, but it's more like glass or something. There's not really any liquid water left around the world. On the map itself, we have points of interest. So we have some sort of ruins here. You can see it's got an explore cost for your like stamina meter. There's a high chance of battle, there's a medium chance of equipment or food, and a low chance of finding materials here. And there'll be like sort of procedurally or randomly generated events and combats that can happen here. You know, we may go here and find someone who needs our help, and we give them something in exchange for something else. It may be an ambush. We get attacked by monsters or raiders or cannibals. It may be an exploration event where a character has to jump over something dangerous and there's a chance they get hurt, but also a chance that they find some really good treasure. There's all sorts of interesting things that can happen. Over here we have a settlement. There's a medium chance of there being a shop available and a low chance of a battle. Sometimes you come across, you know, there's raiders attacking the settlement or slavers or something like that are there, and you can get into fights. A lot of times you have the choice to avoid it if you want. There's a lot of pressing your luck in this game. There might be like a really dangerous reward, or a dangerous event that could give you a really big reward, or you just leave and don't bother. Down here we have our quest marker. This is pointing the way to our main quest. You can see there's a little symbol of a terrifying looking blood spider thing. I think that's the little boss guy we have to fight at the first stage of this quest. It does change sometimes. I believe I had to fight this like witch lady that duplicated herself the last time I did this. Up here, we're on day 1. We can hover over the journal to see what we're working on. We have our morale. So if we are determined, which we are now, we have extra armor, extra redraws, and we can find better loot. So that's because we're fresh, happy, excited, we're good to go. If you are heading towards your main objective, you gain determination, you gain morale. If you are not headed towards your main objective, you lose morale. So it's important to, like, if I want to go over and loot these ruins and then go to this settlement, I'll have to lose a little bit of morale because I won't be heading towards my objective. I'll be kind of like going off and doing side things. So you have to be careful. You have to balance checking out as many things as you can for loot and experience with actually heading towards your main quest, or else your party will be demoralized by not actually making any progress on their mission. And we are fresh. This is stamina. As we move about the world, we will lose stamina, and then as we hit these little notches, we will begin to get negative cards added to our deck temporarily, like fatigue, and then we can get those back by resting. Resting requires food, which we have food supplies here. We have 3 points of food supplies out of 10. There are also mystic herbs. These are very interesting. They can be used to upgrade cards in your deck when you're sleeping, or you can use them to get rid of permanent injuries that characters can get if they take really big hits, or if they die, but you survive the battle, they come back with an injury. And then we also have our obsidian coins, which are basically gold. So from here, we can also click on our journals here. We've got Goober the Hunter. So Goober is level 1. He's got 1 quality and 2 armor. Let's talk about that really briefly. Quality lets you do redraws in combat. We'll show that off when it happens. Armor is a combined quality of your armor points. So Leather Rags here has 1 armor. And he doesn't have anything else that gives armor. And he's got +1 from Determined. Remember, here in Determined, it gives us +1 armor. So 2 armor means that when we go into combat, instead of having 10 health, he will have 12 health. So armor is like damage you can take that after the battle resets. You heal that back for free. Any other health damage you take does not come back. You have to rest to get it back, or I'm sure there's some kind of events that can heal you. So you have to be careful with your health, but you can get decent armor, and you can, of course, play cards that give you defense and stuff like that. I'll show you how that works in combat, probably in the second episode. We also have all of his equipment slots. Every one of these characters has a different series of equipment slots. So this here, this symbol means this is armor. He can put armor in this slot. This slot here can have a sword or a bow. This slot here can have like an offhand weapon, like a dagger or something, and a bow, or a ranged weapon, I should say. Here we can put a shield or some sort of arm equipment. Down here we can have a bag slot item or an occult item. And here we can have a bag slot item or an alchemical ingredient of some kind. So this gives you a ton of build variety on the characters. They all have this, but in different orientations. So for instance, this character here can wear heavier armor in this slot. And she has a helmet slot, which Goober does not have. She also has a slot here for a sword or a hammer, and here a sword or an axe. So, but she only has 1 of these bag slots. So she's more like tanky, and you can actually see, I never noticed this on her art, she's wearing like a buttload of weapons on her back, which is great. And then this witch character here, again, can use a scepter or a ranged weapon, hammer or ranged weapon. And then we've got multiple slots for like occult items, as well as a tome. These can usually give you like magical attacks, like different sort of shock abilities or something like that. And again, a shield or bracer slot here. So you can see how most characters can be built in multiple ways. We've got a witch character, a magician, who can be built with a hammer and a shield. and like medium armor. And we have here a ranger who we could put medium armor on, give him a sword and a dagger and a shield, and he could go in and fight in melee. It's really quite cool. And then even this character, you can give her, sure, you can't give her ranged weapons really, but you can give her more defensive abilities, you can give her more movement abilities, you could give her a couple of different, like 3 different kinds of melee weapons she can hold, which gives her incredible versatility in how you build her melee. You can see she's even holding a whip in the art here, which is super cool. So you can see there's a lot of different ways to build your characters. And when you build your character, let's just go back to Goober for a second here. So if you see here, class, you're always going to have 9 class cards available to you, but your other cards will come from your equipment. So if I take off his armor, we lost that card. So you can see here now his deck is thinner. We wouldn't want to do this for the most part because we're losing out on, like for instance here we're losing out on an armor point, and we're also losing out on that prepare skill. So we want to pop that back in. See, we get the card back. It's a power. And we want to keep this bow on again because we get this action, which is, it's better than the basic attacks. A lot of the basic cards you want to get rid of, like the swipe is just 2 damage, not very good. So let's head on back to the adventure here and let's get moving. So let's go do our first node. Now I don't want to head straight for the event. I want to kind of toe the line on morale because I want to hit as many nodes as possible to gain equipment and experience and all sorts of other kinds of loot. There's upgrade materials actually. We don't have any inventory. It's the party inventory. And then there'll be upgrade materials down here like bone and leather and metal and things like that that you can use to upgrade your equipment when you are camping, which we'll show off when we get a chance. So what we want to do is try to get herbs, get food, get money, but we also have to sort of maintain that balance because if we run out of food, we can't rest. And resting gives you health and your stamina back as well. So we have to be careful. And resting also gives you the ability to do all sorts of other... In fact, I can click the button here. I can click on this is how you set up camp, as right here. We can rest and it uses up food. We can upgrade items if we have crafting materials, which we have none of. They would be here. And you can also show, like there's this X here. It means we don't have the materials to upgrade this. We can't upgrade these crappy items. These are just rags that we need to replace as soon as possible. But you can see here, so the bone longbow gives us headshot, range attack 3, then if the target has 3 or less health, destroy it. If we were to upgrade this during a rest for 2 leather, it would turn into range attack 4. Then if the target has 4 or less health, destroy it. So you can upgrade the cards associated with equipment by resting and using the upgrade materials. The other things you can do when you're resting is hone an item. This removes a card from an item. So let's say you've got a really cool piece of armor that your character needs that buffs them up and gives them a bunch of movement and defense, but it also comes with some sort of attack that you don't want because it's bad and you don't want it in your deck. You can remove that card from the item. I don't use this very often. I think it's generally better to upgrade, but you can definitely like pare down the cards in your deck. You can meditate. This lets you upgrade a class card of a hero, which is sort of like simulating a level up. So this is very powerful. These herbs are quite rare. Or heal an injury if you get a serious injury card from falling in battle or having a bad event happen to you. You can get rid of those this way. And then you can rest anywhere you want, but if you rest out in the open, like just in the plains, you'll get barely anything left. If you rest in a camp or in ruins, you'll get like better bonuses. So let's break camp. I'm not actually going to rest. You can click this without actually like causing a rest. So let's head on over here to these ruins that have a chance of having battle. The rear-facing wall of a ruined bell tower has partially collapsed on one side, leaving it leaning precariously against a cliff face behind it. So we can climb the bell rope, though the noise could attract unwanted attention. There's a 50% chance of getting a reward, a 50% chance of battle. Search among the stone blocks, reward. or bypass the tower and carry on ahead. So this is the push your luck sort of stuff. Now in this case, we're fresh. It's the start. I'm going to go for a reward or battle because both of those are going to give me something I want. Framis pulls on the rope sharply to test its strength. It seems sturdy enough, so she begins to climb it, which makes the bell ring continuously. Finally, she reaches the wide wooden beam. The cliff is much easier to climb, and she makes it to the ruined tower room. There are some useful objects that have been shielded from the weather in a narrow crevice. So we get these different items. So I'm just going to take all, because we're going to want all of this stuff to either wear it or sell it. And then I'm going to pop right into our inventory and take a look. Now, these are grayed out because Goober doesn't have a helmet slot or a staff slot. So we can give him this bone knives. So if we pop this onto him, it will give him running shot, move 3, random range attack 2. Now this is phenomenal. This is a great skill compared to our starting things. Move 3 and attack a random enemy at range with 2 damage. A swipe, a basic card, is melee attack 2. So this is a movement and an attack of 2 at range for the same price. So this is a much better item or card. So we would prefer to draw this over these kind of cards anyway. So that's a better item than not having that slot filled. So we go over here to Framis. Framis doesn't have a helmet. This would give her 1 armor. You can see that would make her have 4 temporary health in battle instead of 3. And it gives her rage. Draw 2 cards, gain 1 willpower for every weakness card in your hand, shuffle a fatigue into your deck. So this card is a free action to draw 2 cards. Then if you draw weakness cards, you get extra willpower in combat, which I'll explain. But then you shuffle fatigue into your deck for that particular fight. So this is sort of like Barbarian raging out, getting temporarily stronger but weaker in the long run. But I think I'm going to put that on because that's just a draw 2 cards for free skill. And the single fatigue, I think, is definitely worth having this in the deck. So there we go. We've got the new skill down there. And finally, a Force Staff. So let's take a look here. We have Force Strike, melee attack 2, then push all adjacent enemies 2 spaces. You can target enemies up to 2 spaces away, and a Force Field, defend 2 on all friendly characters. Now, I'd rather have this lightning damage, but this is a better item. Those 2 skills are fine, and it also adds a quality. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that. If Shu had a different slot, we would put this in the other one, but this only fits in this slot here. So I'm just going to put this back down here in my spot where I keep things I'm going to sell. All right, so let's get back to the map and let's head on out to this campsite or this civilization. As you move into the main square, it seems like the entire town is here. One member of the crowd tells you they've all assembled for the fallow field axe throwing, where onlookers compete to cut down executed criminals from the gallows. Oh my god, that's brutal. Participate in the peculiar game. We get to shop, and there's a 25% chance we gain money. So you see, we're spending money to go shop, and then we might also win some money. See if you can steal any supplies or items from the tavern or nearby houses while townsfolk are distracted. There's a 2/3 chance that we get to find some food and we get to go shopping, and a 33% chance that we take damage, probably when they catch us, or patiently wait for the game to be over. Let's go ahead and participate. Whatever. You are in the queue. By the time you've reached the front, there's a hatful of money awaiting the winner. Goober tries his luck, but missing narrowly with a crudely weighted axe. That's okay. After the game is finished, the market stall at the opposite end of the square opens up again. So obviously we're super poor right now. I'm going to sell this, get back to 50, and then pick up 1 food ration, which will pop up over there. And then we're going to leave this spot. So that's all there is to that one. Now here's some sort of little event down here. It looks like materials could be found here. Head down that way. Plume of smoke alerts you to a burning caravan up ahead. Bodies of ratlings and humans litter the area. And you can hover over these. It's super cool. You can see information on the different races. Like there's some concept art as well. It's super cool. We could attempt to salvage something from the caravan before it's consumed in flames, but there's a 75% chance we take damage. We're fresh, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. As you attempt to pull out the blaze in the dry heat, put out the blaze, I can't read. A lick of flame crawls up Shu's arm, leaving a wicked burn. So, with that 4 health, God. Despite the fire, you managed to salvage some useful goods. Now, this was actually probably worth it. Wood and bone for upgrading materials. Let's grab that. Let's sit down here at the bottom of our party inventory. And then we move on. Now, it looks like we've got some sort of enemies up here. Sometimes these are enemies. Sometimes they end up being traders or something like that. But I'm going to head down there towards them. Let's see if they spot. Yeah, they'll spot us. And they'll sort of head towards us slowly. There we go. Well-armed group of human mercenaries stops you and demands you hand over a stolen heirloom or face justice. You try to reason with them, but they seem convinced that you are the thieves. Refuse to give them anything. Battle. Give them an item from your pack and convince them that's what they're looking for. 50% chance of battle. Well, we don't really have much in our pack right now, just some materials, and I don't want to negotiate with them, so we're going to go to battle. So again, see, this is still in this book. It's like it opened up to another page, and like little figurines pop down to represent the different players and characters. There's different random terrain. There can also be different like weather effects. It would be right here. Sometimes there's like a magic storm and it shoots lightning every once in a while or something like that. It's very, very cool. But for the combat tutorial, I'm going to have to wait an episode because we are all out of time here. So if you want to see the combat, please join me for the next episode. We'll call this one episode 0. We'll call the next one episode 1. Again, this is going to be a tutorial / let's play series of Trials of Fire. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this little peek at Trials of Fire. It is a great, great game. It doesn't get enough attention. Go check it out for yourself. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next episode.
He's just a little goofy goober.